Now, Pete, just before we start, let's have a laugh. How do I pronounce your last name properly again?
I could never pronounce it.
Yeah.
It was the years I was watching him play.
Yeah.
I was like, is it Matautia?
Yeah, that's how you say it. It was sort of my fault though, because
Yeah.
in 20s, I would try and say it to the people or the commentators, and they couldn't say it right. And like, I'd have a different last name every 20s game, and the easiest name they could say was Matautai.
Yeah.
So I just went with that.
Yeah.
But then my little brothers, when they started playing, they just stuck with Matautia, and then now I was Matautai, and my 3 other brothers were Matautia, and then my mum's going, "What's going on here?"
going on?
Like, I'm sorry. But yeah, it was just like that. It was just easier for other people to say than me having a different last name every 20s game. One game I had Matawiti, like.
Yeah.
Who said that?
One of the commentators
Did they
in
get
Toyota
sacked?
Cup. I don't know.
That's who I've got to say. Anyway,
Yeah.
he's here. I'm excited about this one.
Mate, what a conversation just off camera.
Just to really break the ice.
Yeah, man. I always like having those conversations.
It's good. Yeah, you do.
I like, because I want to get to know
get
him,
the feel.
you know,
Let it be comfortable.
Yeah.
Let's start, Pete. Let's start with, you mentioned before, and I didn't know that, Bankstown. In Bankstown.
Yeah, Bankstown boy. Yeah, I was born in Bankstown and spent my first 11 years there.
What was Bankstown like?
Man, it's probably still the same, I think.
Yeah.
You know, just full of Polynesians,
Probably right.
Lebanese
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
pork rolls,
Yeah.
kebabs.
Yeah.
Man, we loved it.
All the good stuff.
We still travel down there to Bankstown or Cabramatta just to get a pork roll, you know.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, just full of, you know, just really family orientated is what I can remember from there. Like through church,
Yep.
and just the Bulldogs really. Like my whole family, we love the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I got from my memories in Bankstown really.
The Bulldogs is the, obviously they've made a huge change to, you know, their playing roster, their culture. Obviously, you started your career off in Newcastle, but did you ever have a dream of kind of going back to the club that you supported and loved and grew up in the area?
Yeah, 100%. There was one year. It was the year after my brother just played for Australia. You know, he became the youngest ever to play for Australia. And Bulldogs sent us a contract for all 4 of us. And it meant a lot to us because obviously, you know, we grew up, we were born in Bankstown. My mum's favourite player is Terry Lamb. Nigel Vangana's our cousin, and, you know, he's probably the reason why we wanted to play footy. You know, as kids, we wanted to be like him. You know, we were in love with the Bulldogs team with Sonny Bill, Rennie Matua, Ogar, Brett Sherwin, Luke Patton, like all them boys. But then at the same time, Newcastle was home to us, and we owed the Knights a lot. They did a lot for our family growing up. But yeah, like I always say to people I talk about, you know, I firmly believe things happen for you, not to you. And at that stage, it was, you know, for me to stay at the Dragons at the time and my brothers to stay in Newcastle.
How did that come about? Because were you there 2014 or 15 when I come back down?
At Dragons?
Yeah.
I was there 14 and 15. They were my first 2 years.
Yeah.
I think my brothers all debuted 15,
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yep.
So then we were all off contract at the same time. And obviously our manager, he was from Bankstown as well. So yeah, sort of that connection with him and the club there, and us being from Bankstown, it only made sense back then to sort of bring us back to the Bulldogs, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. That's a big move for any football club to go off and sign 4 or 5 brothers in one sort of thing. Was the contract length all the same, or was it one a little bit longer than the other, or was it the whole thing to try and get you there in the same team at some stage?
No, the contract deal was all the same,
Yep.
same years and that. Just the youngest brother got the most cash.
Yeah. Try to get him there. He said before, played for Australia at 17. Do you remember the phone call? Were you with him? Did you find out before him, or how did that sort of experience happen for your family?
I was at Dragons at the time.
Yep.
He called me, and I was stoked, man. Like, as you know, growing up in Newcastle, no father around, to see your younger sibling achieve something so big like that, that's success to me. You know, trying to break family cycles and all different cycles. To me, seeing that happen, seeing my mum's dreams come true, there was nothing better. You know, and I actually got to watch his game. He played at Wollongong.
It was in Wynn, wasn't it?
Yeah, Winston
I went
against Samoa.
Yeah.
And I was meant to play that year, but I washed my passport, I think, the week before. We were meant to come into camp. But I was sitting on the hill with all the Samoan fans and just hearing them go off at him. You know, it was daunting, but I was proud of him, man. Like, as a big brother, I was so proud of him. And, you know, he's put my family name in the books, in the history books for life now. And like I said, I'm grateful for the life we've had with footy, and yeah, I'm proud of everyone in my family.
When you look at rugby league in itself, and we're just talking off camera, you know, it was a huge thing. You know, your mum, like there's 7 of you.
Yeah.
You know, I got 2 kids and it's tough. Fucking imagine like 7 and you got two older sisters. Like, I mean, everyone loves their mum, you know, there's a huge respect for what they do for us. But I mean, your mum, 7, there's 5 of you and 2 cousins, like...
7 of us and 2 cousins.
Like, how did she do all that? And you know, when you look at the family unit, how close is your brothers and sisters? How close are you guys?
Nah, man, we're inseparable, all of us. I think the way we were just brought up and grew up, what we had to go through just made us closer. But in saying with my mum, I think it was just her why, really. You know, watching her, when you know your why, you can find the how. And for her was to try and give us a life that she never had, try to give us a better life, more opportunities, and that's what drove it. You know, we moved up to Newcastle when I was 11 and she worked 2 jobs. I barely saw her during the week. Man, some nights we had no food, you know. Her working 2 jobs was just enough to put a roof over our heads, and that's all she wanted for us. You know, she always told us, you know, it's better to have a roof over your head than not have food. And that whole scenario, watching her do that, became my why to try and make NRL. You know, I had no second plan. I had to make NRL. You know what I mean? I had to play footy to help my mum.
When, you know, you're the oldest of the boys that made the NRL, was it important for you to be able to lead, to show the boys the path? And how did that work out? Did they watch you train? Did they see what your why was? At what point did you realise, you know, what your mum had done and put shelter over your heads, and what age were you, and that you decided, hey, there's no plan B here, man?
I was 12 turning 13, and I remember my mum going into a room pretty upset, and, you know, I wanted to go in there and check up on her, but the door was locked. I tried yelling out to her, reaching out to her, and I couldn't. I never got a response. You know, a few hours later, I ended up finding out she tried to commit suicide. She tried to, you know, swallow all these pills and that. I can't remember how she was found, and all I remember is ambulances rocking up. That was a moment that made me realise that I had to make footy something to get us out of here. You know, seeing her struggle, you know, seeing her come from work tired, seeing her really emotional after work sometimes, not seeing her at all, you know, not seeing my brothers and my little sister eat, all that stuff just forced me to come up with footy was going to be my why. You know, it was going to be the reason to change the way we're living.
Just listening to you, Pete, like, it resonates with me in some ways with certain things that I seen growing up, went through, not to the extent of that, but it sounds like almost you made up in your mind, I'll be the sacrifice and take the lead here, and whatever's in front of me, I'm sort of going to go through. Is that how you felt at that time?
Yeah, 100%. You know, I was the eldest. I understood, you know, the standards that I held were going to be the standards that my brothers and my little sister were going to follow. You know, there was no one around except me, and I had to really grow up and mature really early. You know, it wasn't easy. 2008, my last year of high school, my first year of pre-season of NRL, should have been the best and funnest year of my life so far, which it was. I struggled to balance how to sort of show them the right way and be an 18-year-old kid. You know, I wanted to enjoy my life as well, party with my friends, train, but then I also wanted to be a good example for my siblings, and I didn't really handle it really well. You know, anytime I stuffed up, I got arrested twice that year, and both times I really hated myself. You know, I hate letting people down, and those two things and a bit of other things, you know, just built up, and I ended up hanging myself in my room closet. And all I remember is, you know, waking up, my little brother was holding me in his arms, and my wife now, who was my girlfriend at the time, was there as well, and they were just crying, and yeah, it was like, it never really built up that day. It just happened, you know what I mean? Like I was really good at boxing things up and just moving on, you know, like it is what it is kind of thing. And I think that's the scariest thing about it is, you know, things like that can happen at any time. And I only came out about 2020, I think, was the first time I ever spoke about it. I was in England, and our coach got us in pre-season one time and got us to share, you know, a story that had a big effect in our life, and I brought that up to the boys. First time I ever spoke about it. My little brothers watched it, and my youngest brother came up to me and said, you know, I was there, where the whole time I only thought one of my brothers was there. And it really hurt me because I didn't know the whole time. I never apologised to them, you know, because I shouldn't have put them through that situation.
How old were you then?
I was 18.
18.
Yeah. Had everything going for me that year, man. Like, you know, I was playing good footy. I was training first grade. Just finished school. And yeah, try to hang myself. And looking back now, I don't like to live life with regrets, but that time there taught me that, you know, it doesn't matter what you're going through. You can always find a way, you know.
I just want to jump in and say thank you for that share, mate, because that's
all good.
It's not easy, man.
That's not easy to express.
It's
And
all good.
I got no doubt people that listen to this will, I think they'll see, as you just said, you had everything going for you, but you've seen that as a way out for yourself. So I can only imagine, you know, other people who are not in the situation.
It's
you
hard.
were to
Like,
do that.
I remember in the early days when I was running the businesses and things weren't going to plan, and you'd just sit in front of the ocean. You'd just be looking and you're going, there's got to be a way. You're just searching, and sometimes, you know, at points you feel like there's no end to this. You know what I mean? And you I don't know, Peter, you might have been seeing where your mum went through, and then you're making these mistakes and, you know, getting in trouble by the law. You don't mean it. You don't even know why it's happening. And then it's happening, and then you start to go, what the fuck's wrong with me? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
As individuals, we start to blame ourselves for, you know, my mum had to leave the house. This is what happened to mum. Was it because of me? Was it because of someone else? And then you're seeing these patterns, and you're going, fuck me dead, I'm getting in trouble. And what tends to happen, if you can hold on as you get older, if you like, and not, it doesn't happen with everyone, you know, and it's very, very difficult. You start to be in more controlled situations where you're making a better decision. Yeah. And like I said to you off camera before, making decisions is one of the hardest things. Did I do this right? Fuck, did I make a mistake here? What do I do here? Why do I make that mistake? Fuck it still happens to me. I mean, you know, I've spoken here heaps. I go, fuck, you know, there's the pros and cons of this. This is what's the good and this is what's not good. And sometimes we don't look at what's good. We just look at what's negative.
100%.
And then if you're looking and you're 18 years old and it's hard.
Fuck.
Because at 18, I never forget, I used to have fights with my mum and then I was fucking live, but I had an older brother. Yeah, man, I think she hates me and all that kind of stuff. And then my brother goes, shut the fuck up, he's 10 years older than me. And then that was it. You just needed to hear that.
Yeah.
It's not you, man. Just shut up. Don't worry about it. And sometimes you need that. And I think because you were the eldest, there's who the fuck do I
Who
turn
do you
to?
go to?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Was that sort of, and that's what I'm saying. Like I'm bringing that to the forefront because it's hard because you're like, fuck, this happened to my mum, this happened to my dad. She tried to do this. I'm fucking up. Where the fuck am I going with this?
No, you're right. Like, yeah, I was the oldest, and I think the thing for me was every mistake I did back then, my younger siblings knew what was right and wrong. So at the same time, I made, you know, decisions and things that I shouldn't have done back then. But if I didn't make them, my younger siblings will probably still be making those mistakes now. So looking back, grateful that I went through that journey there, faced those challenges and adversities. But like I said, I think everything happens to us for a reason, you know.
Let's jump into rugby league. So you said that you had your first pre-season while you were still at school, was it?
Yeah.
What was that like?
I think at the time I thought I was the man, you know.
Oh, well, I've been through that too, don't worry.
I thought, you know, I was the man, I made it. You know, I finally got to achieve what, you know, a step closer to what I set out for myself to help my family. But looking back, I was nowhere near where I needed to be. You know, and obviously I learned a few lessons from the way I was back then. But man, like there's no, it's a hard feeling to describe when you first get told that you're going to train with a full-time team. You know, you've worked your whole life for it and you finally get there. But man, the excitement that it created for my mum and my little brothers who wanted to play footy as well, I was really happy with myself. You know, I really celebrated, you know, that little win.
Far out, like, I think back to when, same thing, I've become full-time, I think, maybe I was 18 or 19. You get the bag with all the kit in it, you got your name and your number and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, a lot of the times through, same thing, I didn't have my old man around through my teenage years. So my whole thing was, I'm this dude. You know, I used to have teachers at school say, oh, you don't want to learn, you'll never make this. And then when I signed my first signed my full-time contract and I knew I was earning more money than my teachers, I had an instant chip on my shoulder thinking I was better than everyone, you know, but you get humbled really, really quick. And I learned that a couple of years down the track, but I understand the mindset where, you know, we inflate ourselves because we've moved up a millimetre in the chart of life.
Yeah.
So when you started training, who was at the Knights? Who was your go-to guy? Did you have one?
Jared Mullen.
Yeah.
He was and still is my idol. Like, I wanted to be like him. I wanted to do everything he was doing. I wanted to wear the same boots he was wearing. He was the guy I wanted to be like because he was playing NRL in high school, you know, and I wanted to be the best. Like I wanted to get to the top as quick as I could to help my mum, you know, change our lives. And seeing what Mullet was doing was what I wanted to do. And, you know, the amount of lessons I've learned from him, the amount of time he gave up, you know, to be with me and train with me and teach me things, I'll always be grateful to him. And to my Harold Mats coach who introduced me to Mullet. You know, I've met so many people in my life who have introduced me to certain people who have helped my family out, who've helped contribute to help me become the man I am today. But yeah, without a doubt, Jared Mullen, man. I seen he was on this show as well. And yeah, it was unbelievable to ride the wave with him.
I rang him and just said, hey, dude, I'm involved in a podcast now. You might come. Yeah, mate, no worries, I'll be up there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just things like
I was
that.
thinking, he's just talking about I'm going to fucking message the guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to message him.
Yeah.
After this.
A lot of these are the things,
just
Mets.
gonna-
People don't know a lot of things about high-profile footy players that, that only the people that they go help see, you know, because the whole point of it is they do it because they can and they see something in another, they see themselves technically in the other person,
Yeah.
you know, and a lot of players get hammered in the papers for whatever. But you know what, man, like, yeah, cool, cop your licking, but don't think that you haven't done it or have done it, you know what I mean? Like, and that's something that I learnt through my life and that as well, to do your best to remember what you've done. And the wrongs and you know, and the lessons and the rights that you've changed in your life, and those are the things. I'm glad you said that about Mullo, because I think there's a bit of a different perception of Mullo in certain aspects. You know, we're all still learning, and you know, in our lives. But I'm glad that sort of come out about Mullo.
I think that's just every footy player. There's a stigma around the word footy player. You know, it's when someone calls me a footy player, I don't like it. Because I'm not.
It's like when someone calls me a gym owner.
Yeah, I'm not a footy player.
You know what I mean? It's funny because he says that because you don't want that to be your identity. It's like, hey, this is who I am.
Yeah.
You were talking about, you know, Kaizen, and you want empowering people and doing all that. So is it because, you know, like Mullo, do you look at your career? And you know, sometimes you talk about it. Do you look back at it and go, fuck, I didn't like these points and I don't want to be called that. I'm Peter Mateo. Oh, fuck, I gotta pronounce it properly now. Mateo. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is who I am. I'm not that same person. I'm not that 18-year-old anymore.
Yeah.
I was once that person, but I'm this other person. Is that what goes through your head when they say footy player?
Yeah, just with what comes with the game, the amount of fans are emotionally attached to the game, right? And being a footy player is just what we do. We're people first. Right? When I coach kids with footy and that, I coach the person. The best coaches I've worked with were good people's coaches. Right? You coach the player first because that's what comes first, and then the player comes second, and the player starts to elevate. But yeah, when I hear the term, oh, you're a footy player, I get pissed off because I'm a person. You know, I'm just like everyone else. I do the same things as everyone else. Just because I'm on TV more, that doesn't mean I'm more or less of a person than, you know, the random person on the street. We go through the same stuff, we pay bills, we hurt the same. So for me, like, footy is just a term, like a nickname, but at the end of the day, every player that's in the NRL, in the junior systems, they're all people.
The 2015, so I come back down to the Dragons after my first hiatus away from being a little bit of a naughty kid when I was younger. Pete and I we got pretty tight because whenever my man, like a buddy, Joel Thompson, was out of the team, I'd come in the left back row and he was the left centre. So we got to spend a bit of time together, Pete and I. What did you like about the Dragons, bro? Like, because I know my feelings, so that's where I'm born. So I have like an attachment to the land down there and the people and the community.
Yeah.
But coming from Bankstown to Newcastle, then to a new club, what was it like for you coming there?
It's similar to Newey, which is why we really loved it, like, as a family. But the team itself, the culture, I loved. You know, and when I talk about culture, it's not just the activities, you know, the partying and all that we do. It was the standards and the values we had as a team. You know, we all bought in, we all liked each other, we all put everyone first, we put the team first. And it was just a fun year to play, you know. Coaches, staffs were great. No one was bigger than anyone else in the team.
That was big. You
know, when I first started in NRL, you can see the different levels of players, and you could feel it sometimes. But at the Dragons, man, it was just like, you had Benji who played over 300 games, but acted more as a kid than I did, you know. If we ever went out, had feeds, he'd always make sure everyone's eating, especially the young boys who weren't on good money. Always made sure they'd have a drink or food, a feed if they needed. So it was just those things, you know, and like, man, I can't think of one senior player there that wouldn't bend over to help out. Ben Craig, man, absolute legend. All them boys, you know, I was really grateful for that, man, because we loved our time there. And the town itself, it was just cruisy, you know. It was a nice place to be, and I always believe that if you're happy off the field, on field takes care of itself.
Is it, you know, everyone talks about off the field, like, you know, your relationships outside of, you know, whether it be work, whether it be rugby league. How hard is it for individuals, especially playing in team sports, to control that? Like obviously when everything's going well, everything's well on the field. Now this is probably a question to both of you guys. You must see there's players that you go, fuck, they must be struggling in a relationship or their parents or whatever. Did you guys ever see that and be able to talk to the players ever and say, hey, listen, man, we're here for you. What are you going through and help them out? Or was it more, everything was more hidden from the players?
My view, I know, I had people come to me. I was pretty, and Pete can sort of back this. I was the dude that was the connection between the younger fellas, the older fellas, and even though I was a little bit of an older fella, I was just coming back to start my career again, technically. But I always made a point that I enjoy getting to know people. So I would always, the music would be blaring when we rocked up, would be hiding, scaring people, bring that sort of trust and build those connections. And you got to understand too what Pete said before. Footy players are people, man. Like you got boys that are coming from broken families. You got boys that some of them have never met their parents. You got guys that come from really caring parents, but are sort of, have that bit of a sheltered personality. So people are more open than others. And it's just one big melting pot of, we're all revving at 10 because we're all trying to wear a jersey. Yeah. So there's always a little bit of distrust or a bit of, a bit of tentativeness. But the longer I feel you're in the same team, squad, you begin to hear conversations. And I remember, I look back now with the things that I'm aware of, there were things I didn't actually pick up at that time when someone was trying to express something to me. Maybe I was like that to some extent as well, but I think back now and I'm like, fuck, he was saying something to me that time.
Yeah.
Did you feel that way, Pete?
Yeah, and I sort of, people can only relate to you if they can connect with you. And I think that's why a lot of the younger boys would always open up to you. You were very relatable to them. And then the same as the senior boys, they, you were in that middle area and they could relate to you and connect with you as well. And no one knows this outside of the game, but those type of players that you were, that I was, that Dylan Farrell was, we are probably the most important players in the squad. Because at the end of the day, like, to be successful in the NRL, it takes the whole squad. Right? Everyone only sees the 17 players that play every week, but every week you have like an opposed session, right? You have the main 17 play, we call them the Bibs team. Without that Bibs team, that starting 17 would not be anywhere near where they should be. They're the most important players in the team and no one sees that. And they're the players that the best clubs try and take care of the most, because without them, the 17 players can't be pushed to the limits, can't grow as good as they can, and then the standards that the group is meant to have doesn't rise or doesn't stay where it's meant to.
That's interesting. People don't look at that. They don't look at the opposing individuals that are in the team that push the starting 17 to get there. Obviously, the starting 17 understand what that affects like, but obviously when you're watching rugby league, you're looking at the first 17 starters and mainly the 13 that are on the field that get the accolades.
Yeah.
But when you look at your life in itself, whether it be business, whether it be family, whether it be anything, do you look back at like things that you go, geez, I could have done A, B, and C better to go to that next level, to play more first grade, to be picked in more teams? Is there things that you've learned now that you've kind of finished and playing in your local team in Newcastle, that, because like we all have retrospect and sometimes people go, don't worry about the past, but it's from the past we can learn from, of the things that we could have done better. Is there things where it could have been about diet or nutrition or more extra sessions that you feel that you could have done better, that you pass on to other individuals that are coming through now?
Yeah, I learned that in 2014, my first year at Dragons. I was a good player as a kid, but my problem was I was very inconsistent. And the coach at the time, Mary McGregor, he would give me a piece of paper with 3 things in attack and 3 things in defence that would help me at least get a 7 out of 10. Every week, every game day, he would give me that. And that helped me understand my game, understand what I needed to do for the team, understand what I needed to do to stay in the team. And I ended up having probably the 2 best years of my career there. And that whole thing ended up creating my preparation a lot better. So preparation is key to being, besides being mentally strong, is probably the biggest key in footy. Understanding your body, training your body, recovering, breaking up the game, videos, little things that no one outside the game sees. That all comes down to preparation. Is probably personally the biggest thing I'd share with kids these days.
The 1%ers, those things. Like whenever I speak about footy and we talk about the Dragons, I always give Mary's props, even though when I was there, yeah, I do, because he saved my career. Yeah. Even though I took the initial steps to go and see him, he gave me that piece of paper. And towards the end, where I left the Dragons, I look back now and I'm just grateful. At the time, I was very bitter, and I didn't know how to handle not being told information I didn't want to hear. I didn't know how to process it well because I'd been let down certain times in my life, you know what I mean? But when you see these coaches, example, Mary, give you these pieces of paper, say these things to you, when I look back now, I'm like, you know what? All the time they're just trying to help. That's what a lot of them are trying to do. You know, there's some that do it differently. Yeah. But I look back now and I'm like, man, when he was giving me that piece of information, it wasn't personal. No. He actually wanted me to be better than I was the week before. You know, so those little things are same thing as mullet. At the time, we're sort of like, oh fuck, like, you know, but it's there to help. And when we can have that mindset of growth and understanding we should take that information instead of declining it, that's what could have, you know, at certain points taken us to a different level. And I know for myself with footy, man, like I got gifted a lot of things right away and I sort of just stayed there because I didn't understand, that got me to here. Yeah. And then I ended up sort of destroying it myself. But with stuff that I'm doing at the moment, I look back on some of the games I played when I was a young fella, like 2020. I watched a game the other day. We were playing at Manly. It was Chalky Watney, Chariot. He loves Manly. Mate, Georgie Rose was playing there. They had, Jamie Lyon in the centres, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, I got to play against those guys at Manly. It's crazy. You know, it's nuts, dude. Like, and I sit there watching it, and I'm like, wow, that is cool. That is so cool. So,
100%.
Race to go fucking not Saints again. They've got the wood on us. I don't care how shit their team is, they're going to beat us. They always had the wood on, man, didn't they?
Sometimes we did, man. It's sort of like Canberra. Going to those, like you go to Manly across it's like a little bit thing. And we were talking with George was here. You know, they used to slide the thing down and run on the field. They'd throw beer at your feet and shit like that. Like, it's funny, man. Footy's a funny thing.
Your Samoan heritage, your culture.
Yeah.
We love, you know, we've had Fijians on here, Tongans, Samoans. The islander culture. I've been very close to a lot of Islanders as well, and I love them. It seems to be different. Like it's, you know, like I was talking to Rennie, and he was talking about going down to his Samoan culture and his heritage because, you know, it feels like it's important for him. But how important is your heritage and your culture and where you've come from?
Man, it's up there. You know, I read something one time and it said, you know, never bite the hand that feeds you. You know, never forget the hand that sacrificed for you. And that was my mum. That was my mum's mum. You know, my nan moved from Samoa to New Zealand for my mum to have a better life. My mum done the same thing, moved to Australia for us to have a better life. And culture itself, man, faith, respecting our elders, and food. It's probably three of the most important pillars of being a Samoan. And it kept us grounded. You know, growing up in Bankstown, going to a Catholic church in Bankstown, you know, I didn't really understand faith as a kid, but I knew where I had to be and what not to do, you know, when I was going to church. So being around that it's more of a grounding thing for us. It keeps us in the right way in that. But then, like, also as you get older, you start to open up your eyes more to what your parents have seen, which is why you see guys now, instead of playing for Australians, they go and play for Samoa. And it's hard for people to understand who are just full Australian because their parents are Australian, you know. But when you have a parent who's a different nationality to where you were born and you get to pick between two teams to play, the reason why they go and play for Samoa is because it's the only way they can thank their parents. It's the only way they can thank their mum
Yeah.
for their sacrifice and their dad for their sacrifices. And this is what the fans or the people who watch the game don't understand. Like, they always go, oh, why are they playing for Samoa and want to play for Origin? You know, they play for Samoa because it's the pinnacle way of us saying thank you to our parents. But then you play for Origin because you coming through school at the age of 11 and 12, you're bleeding blue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's also hard for people to understand that as well. For us Samoans and being Australian, you want to play for New South Wales because from the age of 11, it's bled into you to hate Queensland, you know, to play in all those New South Wales teams. And then you want to play for Samoa because you want to say thank you to your parents for the life that they've given you, for the opportunities that they've given you through our culture.
That's the best analogy I've heard for it.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, because you know, they get scrutinised a lot,
Yep, they do.
especially on TV.
Yep.
You know, for jumping ship, they should be playing for their country. They should be playing for this. But when you hear that, and I reckon most of them were thinking that, but Pete's just explained it perfectly.
Yeah. I think that'll give good insight. That gave me, I was sort of sitting there, I'm like, I've actually never thought of it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, because we do, like they, and some of the players do say it, oh, you wouldn't understand. A lot of us don't, I don't think. You know, and the way
No.
you've just said it, I was sort of like, I can understand that.
Yeah, and it's a difficult decision for them because, like, they have to pick out of two places that they really love. You know, the country where their parents are from, or the country that they were born, which is probably the best country in the world, Australia. You know, the opportunities we get, how they treat us. It's a very multicultural country. We love it, we respect it, and yeah, they're just stuck in the middle. But
I think it's the hardship that your country, you went through for your parents to leave the country. Like you said, your nan went to New Zealand and your mum came to Australia.
Yeah.
And then what they had to go through. If that wasn't hard enough and they came here, then they had to go through this battle.
Yeah.
So it was like, I guess it's more about, man, they sacrificed the hardship and we have to give back.
yeah, 100%. We have to, be grateful and say thank you somehow. You know, and for footy players, the best way and the most grateful way to say thank you to your parents' sacrifices is to represent,
jersey.
Samoa or Tonga or Fiji.
Yeah.
I'm just looking here, and I'd forgotten about this, but your scar on your throat.
Yeah.
Why don't we share with the audience? Because as you were speaking before, saying some of the things you went through off the field, this is similar to the same time as the stuff you were going through. Is that correct?
Yeah, 2023, I think. Oh, sorry, 2003.
Yeah.
The year before I came to Dragons.
Yeah.
I was playing footy and I got accidentally elbowed in the throat.
Oh, fuck.
And I've seen it happen all the time. Guys
Yeah.
get in the throat and they just cough and then they still play.
Yeah.
But I remember on the field I was coughing out blood, and then the trainer said, "Oh, you're gonna need to come off here." So I went into the sheds, and our doctor at the time, told me to lay down and was doing all these breathing tests with me, and he went to his bag and grabbed a little scapula out, and he said, "Look, I'm just gonna bring this out just in case I'm gonna have to cut your throat open and put a straw or whatever was down my throat." So when I heard that, I was like, fuck, all right. But I still felt all right at the time. So I was laying on the bed waiting for an ambulance. Ambulance come, I jumped in, got to John Hunter Hospital. My mum came with me and I got taken to the CAT scan room. And once I went into the CAT scan, I reckon I only got in there about 5 seconds and I stopped breathing.
Shit.
I remember laying there, I couldn't breathe, and I was like, nah, fuck, something's wrong here. So I tried to climb out, and then another 10 seconds had gone past, and I just started crying and saying, this is it, I'm gonna die, I was trying to breathe again. The two nurses were trying to hold me down. I just remember throwing them off. I remember banging my chest, crying, trying to speak, and I couldn't speak, and just saying to myself, this is it, I'm gonna die here. And then the next thing I know, I woke up in an ER room with just blood all over me, and I was pretty lucky. The surgeon ended up coming back into the room. he wasn't meant to be in there. He was meant to be upstairs. So what he said happened was when I climbed out, I just passed out, and he grabbed the scalpel and cut my throat open and chucked a straw down my throat and had to try and get me breathing. And grateful that he was there, and without him, I'm here today.
Was that 2003?
2013.
13. Far out. How old were you then?
I was just turning 23 that year.
23. Far out. And when you couldn't breathe, were you trying to tell him you can't breathe?
Yeah, man.
But you couldn't get it out?
Yeah, I couldn't get nothing out. I was trying to bang my chest. I was just hitting it as hard as I could, trying to yell, couldn't yell. And then just all I remember is just crying and then just passed out.
You mentioned before we started the podcast, I'm pretty sure, you had signed, and I remember this, you'd signed a multi-year deal with the Dragons. But 4 months into it, you asked for release to go back to Newcastle.
Yeah.
Can you shed some light on what that process was like and the reasoning behind that?
It was shit, to be honest, man, because I really loved it at Dragons. I really enjoyed being coached by Mary because he was probably the first coach that actually made me understand how to get the best out of myself. And I had no reason to leave except that if I never got to play with my brothers again, or if I never took this opportunity to come back home to Newcastle and play with my brothers, I'd probably regret it and I would never have that opportunity again. That was the only reason to leave Wollongong, was just to be able to play with my brothers, make my mum's dreams come true. But sometimes I do look back and question if it was the right thing or not, because we did love it in Wollongong. But yeah, playing with my brothers is the best thing that I've ever done in my footy career.
Yeah. That decisions wouldn't have been taken lightly, because I know you had that centre spot locked down. There was you and Huey Aiken at the time. They were the centres in the team, and you had that pretty much locked down because Dill got a crook back.
Yeah, he hurt his back. Yeah.
So that all happens for a reason, I suppose. It would be pretty cool running out the tunnel with your brothers, bro.
Nah, man.
How was that?
It's a feeling you can't explain, man. Like running out there, seeing mum up there smiling, crying, happy. Man, in your hometown, it's what you dream of, man. Like to actually dream dreams and write down goals and to see it come, to life. That's life, man. That's happiness, that's success, and yeah. But it was tough to leave. Obviously, I had a good relationship with Mary, and it was a tough conversation. I remember my eyes getting watery and that. Yeah. He wanted me to stay, and I'm pretty grateful he understood as well, and grateful that he let me go, because he didn't have to.
Yeah.
He could have easily just kept me there and told me that I'm not going. But yeah, it's very grateful.
Obviously, we talk a lot about transitions in rugby league. But before I ask you that, what was one of the biggest standouts? Was it that moment there where you went back to Newcastle to play with your brothers and your senior mum, in the stands watching you guys? Was that the most memorable moment, or was there other moments in your career that were, big highlights where you go, you know what, that you remember these great moments in your life?
Yeah, besides my brothers debuting and making Australia, it'd have to be receiving an award in the Super League. It's called the Spiritual Award. It's an award given to anyone in the rugby league community for the work they do off the field. That's probably my biggest achievement in the game. I love helping people. I love the life I live, and I want everyone to feel how I feel with the way I live. And I firmly believe that everyone deserves to at least have the chance to reach their full potential in life and give it their best shot. So that's probably my most proudest achievement, is the work I do outside of the game.
What were you doing in the UK, bro, that got you that award? What were you doing in the community?
I was doing a lot of ambassador work up there, mainly for charities.
Yeah.
And then 2020, I think was the first year of COVID in England. We weren't allowed to leave the house, so I started mentoring. And that was the biggest eye-opener, man. The amount of people that reached out to me for help, I didn't really understand the extent of effect I could have on other people. But you name it, man, that year of mentoring, I had teachers, nurses,
Wow.
Coaches, children. The amount of people I helped that year and the amount of people that needed my help was probably the biggest push that I got to keep on mentoring to this day.
You're a light worker, bro.
What's that mean?
Light work. You're someone that teaches people how to, see the good side, the bright side, and everything. Like they come to you for advice or a pickup.
Yeah, I honestly give advice not because I know everything, but because I've done a lot of dumb shit in my life.
Yeah.
But then I've also been through a lot.
Yeah.
That's the main reason why I love mentoring.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that there's not enough time for everyone to make all the mistakes they need to become successful. So I feel like if I can share all my lessons with somebody, that's one less mistake they need to make to get to where they need to be.
What if? And you don't have to share this obviously because it'd be confidential. But what were they coming to you about, dude? Were they coming about life lessons? Were they talking about, if there are any sports players that reached out to you, or were people just generally struggling because what was going on at that time?
Bit mixed, man. People were struggling with COVID. Some people had no purpose. I had a lady reach out about her relationship with her husband.
Yeah.
They were in brink of divorce.
Yeah.
Man, you name it. Just, I think it came from I done a podcast one year in England, and once they heard my story, and they felt like they could relate to me. That's what probably opened the doors up for people to come to me.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't like to miss an opportunity to help someone.
Yeah.
I believe in the people's business, which is if you're on a daily basis, if you're like on a consistent daily basis of connecting with someone, that is an opportunity you have to change someone's life.
Bingo.
And for me, I never want to miss an opportunity to show someone love. I never want to miss an opportunity to help somebody. I never want to help an opportunity to lift someone up, because that one connection you can have with somebody is a chance for you to change someone's life. So for me, man, I'm all about the people's business, and that's what I'll push from this day on forward. You never know what someone's going through. And for me, like my throat, that scar's visible, But a lot of people out there, their scars and wounds aren't visible. It's all internal.
Emotional.
Emotional, all internal, and you never know what they're going through. So anytime you have contact with somebody, man, share light, speak life to them,
Do you think, that those two near death experiences for you, plus obviously seeing your mum has, when I talk to someone and they've been through that, there's a lot of experience, coming from where you are. Not many people get to go through that many challenges. So when people go through that, people tend to listen because they're tough situations.
Yeah.
They're tough situations. Going through, I think that when you go through hard things in life, it makes things, if you get through it, it makes challenges that you come across a lot easier, because you go, wait a second, I've gone through this before. It was hard, and yours was like, the throat injury is like, mate, this is the end.
Yeah.
Does that help when, I talk to a lot of rugby league players, and so does Jake. The transition isn't easy. We talk about decisions aren't easy to make. We don't know if this person's here to take off me. Are they giving me false sense of security of where I'm at? Do I need to work on myself? Half the time we've got to come up with it ourselves.
Yeah.
And hardly, everyone will go, yeah, that's going to work. But you got to actually put in the work.
Yeah. 100%.
Or if someone says, I'm going to do all the work, you go, okay, they're going to do all the work. But then you go, fuck, are they going to do all the work, or do I have to do all the work? So you start to second guess yourself. After what you've been through, how was the transition into everyday life? I know you're still playing, footy for your local side, and you're making an earn there. But when you look at that and you know, in 4 or 5 years, that may be over. What's that transition look like? Are you prepared for that?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like everything you go through, like you said, you know, life, as you grow as a person, life doesn't get harder. You just get stronger. It's like when you work in the gym, right? The weights don't get heavier, you just get stronger. So you just got to push more. And, you know, my biggest challenge actually happened in 2018 when I was in England. You know, I was at training and I got a phone call from my wife, and all I heard was just her crying. And I remember asking her what's wrong, and she said, our son, my oldest kid, the doctors just found a tumour the size of a soccer ball in his stomach. And I remember just sitting in the sheds crying and, you know, asking her, you know, are you okay? And then I got home and I seen him, and as soon as I seen him, man, I just started crying and just hugging him. And like, as a parent, you never want to see your kid go through something like that, you know, especially they're young, because they can't help themselves and you can't help them because they're just so little. And it was so tough, man, because I'm trying to be strong for him, but then, you know, him every morning, you know, when I see him, I was crying, and he would come up to me and say, Dad, it's okay, I'll make it, you know, I'll get through this. It broke me, you know, because I was just helpless. But going back to what you were saying is, if I never went through, you know, those two big things in my life back then, I probably wouldn't have been able to make it through this bit, you know. So going back to what you're saying is, yeah, everything you go through just makes you stronger for whatever's to come next. And for me, like we spoke about,
How's he now?
He's good now. He got cleared. He got cleared in 2023, I think it was.
Wow.
Man, we were stoked, man, because that kid is my biggest inspiration. That boy, like, to go through all that, especially the surgery. Because of the surgery, the tumour grew over his blood vessels, so they couldn't just cut the whole thing out. They had to snip bits by bit, and if they were to snip one of his blood vessels, he would have died. But yeah, man, that boy is my biggest inspiration. For someone that young to go through what he did, and to see him now enjoy life to the max, honestly just drives me every day, you know. And yeah, if I didn't go through those first two things, I don't think I would have been prepared to go through that. So yeah, grateful, like I said, you know, I don't wish it upon anyone what I went through, but grateful I did, because maybe I had to go through those things to prepare me for what my son was going through. And I'm glad I did, because, you know, I'm here today. I get to see him live longer, and I get to spend more time with my kids.
I thought it was going to get easier, but that's probably, like, I know when... It's funny because, like, when you know, when you're trying to explain it, like, it's hard for you because you go, where the fuck was my dad, almost, you know, in your head, and you're feeling that for your son. It's hard to say to people, like, and like, even for me, having two daughters, but, you know, there's a different feeling. If you're doing your duty as a father or a mother, you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
And, like, there's a big commitment that comes with that, you know, when you look at kids, and, you know, sometimes, you know, people don't understand what that commitment is, and how you got to lead and how you got to be, and that's not always easy because we're not taught that either.
No. So
I know as a father myself, you know, when, you know, it means everything, and sometimes I used to think if something happens, what would my reaction be? How would it affect me? How would it hurt me? And sometimes, like, if I know how much work my wife does, and, you know, I see how my kids are with their grandparents. Sometimes what affects me the most is not the effect. I know how I can handle that, but how does it affect the other people around you as well? Because you would have been thinking about your wife. You would have been thinking about your kids and how they're affected. You would have been thinking about how your mum might be affected in that. And obviously it hurts you,
Yeah.
but you're thinking of the collective that creates
100%.
more,
Yeah.
you know, a powerful, well, you know, hurt almost that you've got to, it's not only your own suffering.
No.
You know, we suffer through others sometimes.
Yeah, it takes a village to bring up a child.
Yeah, man.
And like you said, like others get affected, and because we're all not built the same. You know, some are stronger than others in our families and that. So, you know, we've got to take care of those just as much as we take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
What you know, you mentioned before, Pete, people were reaching out to you, and then obviously some of the stuff you've gone through in your life. What are your tools and techniques to get the best out of Pete every day? What do you do, bro?
For me, I love practicing being in the present. You know, I spend 5 minutes every day just sitting down and soaking in what's happening around me. You know, for example, I might sit outside and just watch birds flying around and, you know, around the trees, and then I make different gratitude scenarios in my head, you know, like I might see two birds chasing each other, and the first thing that comes to my head is, you know, a father playing with his son, you know, things like that. I love practicing being the present, because we get lost sometimes with what's going on in this world, and we forget to enjoy the moment. I also like to practice my perception and being disciplined. You know, perception, I really believe, you know, like how we view what we do will always affect how we do what we do. You know, like our perception of life is what will get us through a lot of things. And practicing that, because at the end of the day, being mentally strong is not something that you can just learn in a day. It's not something that's given to you. It's a skill you got to practice. But yeah, they're the main things, man. And making sure everyone has a why, having a purpose, having a drive behind what you want to do. Because at the end of the day, motivation can only take you so far. You know, having a strong why and being very disciplined can take you the whole way. You know, motivation's like, it's like taking a coffee or a Red Bull. You know, you get a hit for an hour and then it goes. Then you have to find something else that's going to push you the rest of the way.
You get another one. You get another coffee.
4 in a row.
Mate.
Yeah, crush and burn. You know, it's funny, he's talking about the present. Fucking we've been there a few times. We're going to need a coffee after this.
A fucking hammer it.
We're a bit of tequila in there, but anyway. But, you know, you talk about, it's funny he talks about the present.
Yeah, dude.
Like today I'm fucking running everywhere and this guy goes, fuck, you know, like, and the only time I feel in the present is when I'm doing these podcasts at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, but
it's actually a good ending to our week, because we usually try to aim to do them on a Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
Feels good actually,
Yeah,
because we're
it
going
does.
fast today.
Yeah.
You know
Well,
what I mean?
fucking been moving, bro. It's been mad,
Cut myself
Hey,
for
that's
the
good.
fans. I don't know if you cut yourself today, but fuck.
I did it yesterday.
No.
Fuck me dead.
But man, what a conversation. You know, we talked about your culture, but you know what I'd like to know is, like, you know, you talked about mentoring. You're still playing, you know, rugby league. What does Peter's future look like, and what are you looking to do? Obviously, you're going to do the mentoring. You talked about the brand that you bought out, Kaizen,
Yeah,
right?
Kaizen.
What does the future look like for you? I know we live in the present, but like, what do you see? Like, what do you visualize? What are your goals?
For me, it's to just keep helping people find their purpose in life, help people grow, make as much as a positive impact as I can where I can. And my main purpose in life is to keep giving my kids a name that they can be proud of. You know, one day I won't be here, and I want them to be proud of who they are. You know, it's funny you say, like, I still play footy, but I don't love the game anymore. Like, I don't play it because I love it. I play it because I can see the effect I have on the young boys that I play with. And if I can still have an effect on them like that, I'll still keep playing. But yeah, in the future, man, just to be, you know, a happy person, a happy dad, you know, and knowing when I leave this world that I've left the foundation good enough for my kids, you know, something that I didn't have growing up, and to give a life to my kids that I didn't have, and that way they have a, You know, when they start their own life, their own journey, that they are a step ahead where I begun.
I think that's like things that I've learned in life and books that I've read on certain things. I think that's what males are designed to do, is to attain or acquire and then just give it to the kids.
That's right.
Is that it might be right, correct in saying? Used to obviously
it's
have
almost
families
like you do. It's funny, like you do things for yourself. You have moments,
yeah.
but it's most of your life, man. I think it's like you're doing something for someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's, you know, whether you're working, whether you're, you know, trying to earn more money. Like, you know, we're going to Thailand, and then when you go there, you want to have experiences with your family.
Yeah.
So it's always, it's, you know, when you look at it, you go, it's almost something for someone else. Like, you know, your mum sacrificed everything for you guys. You're doing it for your own kids. You're doing it for the, it's passed on.
Yeah.
Essentially, it's passed on. And you know, when you look at some people, and so you got to be selfless and selfish at a point.
Yeah.
But the selfless part is doing things for others. The selfish one is now, I need to be in the moment right here, like we do, like doing the podcast. This is like people go, what do you do that for? Maybe that's the selfish thing we like doing for ourselves, is to be in the moment.
Yeah.
But also we enjoy it. You know,
Yeah.
you know, that might be the selfish part.
Yeah.
But you know, there's points of it that are selfless, because we we're talking to Carlos, and he was talking about how he connected with the Bradley podcast. He goes, mate, that was the best one I've heard.
Yeah.
So what you're selfish for becomes selfless because someone's heard that message and taken something from it. But you know, sometimes you sit at you'll sit at home, and I might finish the day and at the tile shop, and I'm going, where the fuck am I here? You know what I mean? As simple as that. I go, thought I knew where I was going, and then you go there, and then you come back, and you know what's funny? I'm going, I love this interview right now. I can't wait to share and have dinner with you guys.
Yeah.
So I'm getting excited about this now, selfish moment.
Yeah.
That I'm going to have for myself to hang with you guys because of this conversation. So I think it changes.
Yeah.
It changes, you know, and you know, you'll finish a hard week, and then we're looking at each other, and I think we may have felt both the same. But then we're in this moment right now, and we're looking forward to having dinner with, you know, Gearing, and that maybe that's selfish for us at that point.
I think we do 100 selfless things to get that one selfish moment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it outweighs it,
100%.
and then when we do have to choose ourselves,
Yeah.
everything else has fallen in place for us to be able to make that choice. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I only learnt that through, you know, as we're sitting here talking about life. Man, I was the fucking most self-absorbed person, because that's the way I had to shape myself as a young fella to get through what I had to go through. Then when I started, you know, I got rid of a couple of things in my life, and I started to see, as you were saying, some of the choices I made affect everyone around me. And I look back now and I'm like, I need to be better for that. You know, even the people, my extended family who I live with, the Sepulvedas, I know things that I did when I was playing footy, when I used to go out, and, you know, one or two of the boys would be sitting at the back drinking. That would affect the household. That's on me. You know, there's things in my life I'm still processing and going through, and, you know, just trying to be better, to make better choices. So
I think sometimes you got to be selfish for yourself, because if I'm not, like, you're playing rugby league, your preparation has to be selfish to you, because if you don't play a certain way, your team ain't going to perform. And then you got to be in the game. You got to be selfless. So you got to have both.
Like
I believe you got to have both ends of the scale.
I think you got to have both.
Yeah.
I think you need to be selfish in a way where you need to fill your cup.
Yeah.
You know, because then you can start to begin to be selfless and start pouring your cup into others. You know, because like we spoke off camera, you know, you can't help others unless you love yourself and yourself is full.
Yeah.
Right? How do you give your best to someone else if you're not at your best?
Yeah.
Right. So for me, I think being selfish, filling your cup, so then that way you're able to pour into others.
And at some stage, people will understand why you're doing that too.
Yeah.
And that's what I think a healthy respect is.
Yeah, 100%. Man, as we're getting to the end, I mean, I guess if you could leave a message to, you know, you talk about your Samoan culture and your Samoan heritage, and you know, like when we look at our cultures, like I come from, you know, from East Lakes, and you can see how our culture was brought up, and unless you move into different cultures, you don't understand these different cultures. I was lucky enough to not just be in one community, but move to so many different communities. But you see so many Polynesians, Samoans, Tongans, Fijians coming through. Like you look at the trials on the weekend. You know, they're the second team, and they're almost all Islanders. You're a Samoan. You know what happens with the families and how the young kids have to support their families. What message do you have for those young players that are coming through, and what can they do? You know, say there's a young kid in your position. What can they do to maybe love themselves more? That it's not because of them, what life threw in their way and made it challenging for them.
Man, I would tell all those kids to be proud of who you are. You know, I think one of our biggest flexes in our society now is being yourself in a world that's trying to make you someone else. You know, because in my culture, embarrassment is a big thing, you know, especially to our parents and to our grandparents. If we embarrass them, it's frowned upon. You know, be proud of who you are, you know, do you, for you, and be you. That's what I'll tell them. You know, don't ever shy away from where you've come from, or the situation you're in, right? Because your current situation is not your destination. You know, but accept who you are, love who you are, and just keep growing.
I like it.
Great message.
Yeah. I reckon we've got a big 12 months planned here, bro, and we've got some things we're putting into place in regards to, you know, what we feel was going to bring benefit. And I think at some stage we should have a chat with you in regards to what you're doing. You know, I was
100%.
thinking about that before, because I think a lot of learning from Mets is the more we can get men together to be able to share knowledge in whatever aspect we've gone through life, whether it's professional, sports, life experiences, to be able to pass that sort of information on to, you know, men and women, children as well. I think that's you're already doing it, but it's definitely something that is of benefit, and we can really take some shape with. I think
100%, and it's evolving. Into that, and especially the next 12 months is, you know, I started this podcast, and you know, Jake, we've done a tremendous job, but you know, over 12 months ago, not understanding exactly which way it's going to go, you know, but I think rugby leagues sharing their stories definitely has had the biggest impact, and you can see from, you know, the comments and the shares, and people having a, you know, go at me. That's why I'm wearing long sleeves today. I had the fucking vest on, I had to take that off, and the guy goes, "Who the fuck do you think you are?" I thought it was quite funny.
You should have left
what
it on.
fucked it up was I had the cut-off sleeves with the cut-off vest. It was
That's
like,
tough.
this guy's, what does he think, he's a bloke or something? But it was quite funny. I go, fuck, the guy got me, I got to wear long sleeves today.
I've
Not in a bad way, but you know, just, you know, in a way, to mix it up. I want to mix these guys up. I don't know who he is, but I love you anyway. You're a good man. You made me wear a t-shirt today, but he's wearing a shirt. But man, I just I want to thank you, Pete, for your sharing a story of vulnerability, because I know it's never easy. Like, it's never easy for people to do that, and to especially like in rugby league, is to be vulnerable. Like, I always teach people how you're going to become resilient, get down and push and push and push. And, you know, I think you get better at understanding your levels of where you can get to. Like, I'm still learning, you know,
100%.
how to hold certain emotions together. Like, some day, you know, in the last few days, I've been working hard, and you get excited, and then you got to level the excitement down a little bit. You know what I mean? I try not to get too far ahead of myself, is to stay balanced. So, you know, I've in my life, I've looked at when things have worked out for me, and where I've had to be learn to be a bit more balanced. Doesn't mean you don't get excited for certain things, and it's crazy. Like, emotions continually
Yeah.
go, up and down. What I've done well, probably as I've gotten older, is to level them out faster. And if I'm not happy about someone, I'm a bit pissed off, to bring it back fast.
Yeah.
So you bring it back to that level
You know
playing
where you
field.
can bring it back to.
Yeah, you try, how fast can I bring it back there? How
Yeah.
fast can I, every time is like the challenge.
Yeah.
And every time that happens, I just go, let's go, bang.
Yeah.
And I just keep challenging myself, and everyone has a different way of holding it together or doing things, you know what I mean? And some days, last week when I was with Kenny and we filmed the Nelk Boys, we had to take all this equipment out and put it back in. And I didn't know how we were going to do it. Honestly, I'm going, how the fuck's this guy going to pack all this up? And how am I going to help him? And then I was able to help him, and we done a great job, and then we unpacked it and brought it back. But fuck, it was a long day.
Yeah, big day.
It was challenging. We had to go all the way to the city. It was challenging. And then I remember getting home, and it's 7 p.m. and we started early. And then I said to him, how are you feeling? He goes, bro, I'm fucked. I said, fucking hell, I'm fucked as well in my head. I want to see what he says.
Yeah.
I didn't want to say it first.
Yeah.
So let me see what this guy says, because he's pretty resilient. He goes, no, bro, I'm fucked. And I said, well, look, we learned something new, man,
Yeah.
And it's interesting. You want to get there quick, but you got to go. Hey, man, there's my bookkeeper sent me this thing. It's beneath the iceberg.
Yeah.
So I have to know what's underneath here, and what the steps are underneath here to grow this.
100%.
And so every time you embark on a project or anything in your life, you got to ask yourself, what's the process?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think I'm a bit more process and system driven,
Yeah.
than I've ever been.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like, if I went back a year, I wasn't that enough.
Yeah.
But it's not to say, hey, go for it and you'll figure it out. I think that still works.
Yeah.
But I do it way less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do it way less. But man, thanks for everything. I don't know if you got any final words. This was amazing.
Mate,
I think we're in the present at the moment.
Yeah, very present. No, I was aware of certain things, but obviously playing with Pete and spent some time with him when we were playing footy. But, some of the stuff I learnt today, I was completely unaware of, bro, and it just makes me have a deeper appreciation for you as a person.
No,
and,
appreciate it.
To understand that you've come from where you came from to who you are today and what you achieved, not just as a professional athlete, but as a person. I admire you, bro, and I look forward to doing stuff with you in the future, because you're someone that I want to be around in the future. So thank you for coming on today.
Thanks for having me, man. It's pretty inspiring that you guys do this. I say this a lot to people I talk to that need help. If you're not sharing it, you're storing it, and that shit gets heavy. So what you're doing here, it's pretty inspiring, and I really appreciate you guys having me.
We're doing a retreat in the next week, and I keep saying to Jake, and I'll say it to him right now, may as well, we're being nice to each other. Yeah. But, you always look at what do you get out of it. It's killed me.
Yeah.
And then, before I was saying off camera what are the best parts, but one of the best parts was connecting with Jake and meeting Jake, even though he sent me some of my best blow-ups. If we videoed some of that, it would have been like, in rugby league, some of the best, his best hits.
Yeah. I got a couple in the first fortnight. It was hilarious.
But, there's those moments, and then I think, okay, how can I... It's like, Kenny's not here, but I remember when he first started with me, and I said, I'll show you what this studio looked before I done this. And I said, bro, I'm going to build this studio, and I could look at it. I was looking at his face. I already built this shit, but I was looking at his face, and he's looking at me, he's going, you're not fucking going to do this. And then when I done it, it was like,
that's it.
This guy is going to do whatever he says he's going to do.
Yeah.
But, in life, he was let down from someone before.
Yeah.
So he's believing that in me. But which, you know what, at the end of the day, it's absolutely true that someone should feel that way until that person proves them wrong.
Yep.
Yeah. 100%.
But I remember when I was looking at his face and I said, bro, I'd like you to work 3 days a week. And he looked at me funny, and I go, and I didn't realise this until after he talked to my bookkeeper. And I said, Rima, can you have a chat to him? He goes, look, mate, he's been burnt heaps of times, and he thinks you're going to fuck him like other people are fuck. I go, mate, I wasn't even thinking that way. And then I got defensive that even thought that about me.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it, I go, what am I getting defensive? I'm just going to show this guy just what I can do. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of the times it's hard, people go, you shouldn't have to prove yourself to anyone. But everyone's been burnt from someone for some reason.
Yep.
And in life, you know, in his case, he was going through his thing, but you know, it was projected on me. But that's life.
Yeah.
And he's a top bloke. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
So sometimes the bullets we get shot with aren't meant for us, but that's what we're meant
But-
to take on for that person
Yeah,
at that
100%.
time. That's just a part of
I'll
it.
be honest with you. When I heard that, I go, I'm gonna fucking show this cunt. in a nice way, and I love the guy.
Yeah.
I'll do anything for him. I said, mate, whatever you need.
Yeah.
But even in our families, man, that happens at every level.
Yeah.
You know, even when I was first starting out and doing all this, I go, I don't think my mum believes in me. I'm gonna fucking show her. Not in a bad way. She
Yeah.
loves me. She'll do anything
Yeah,
for
yeah,
me.
yeah.
But it's
You just want
the
their trust,
same.
or
Yeah,
you know, you just want
bro,
them
it's
to,
always,
to
you know,
be
sometimes I
confident
feel
in
like
you.
my wife looks at me going, he ain't going to do that. He's fucking stupid. He's crazy. I don't think he's going to be able to do it. I go, and I can feel it sometimes.
Yeah,
I go,
yeah,
she fucking doubting you? fucking hell, man. I'm going to show
Oh,
her.
no.
fuck.
That's why you're successful.
Yeah.
But I
keep
do it all
showing
the
up.
time.
Chuck it on the
Yeah,
fire.
anyway, thanks a lot, brother. You're
Nah,
a champion, man.
big love,
You're
boys.
a champion. Love
Thank
it, bro.
you.
Love it.
Thank you.
Thank you.